What is the definition of a contract? What are the essential factors? What are the types? The Indian Contract Act of 1872, which talks clearly about what are the rules and regulations that are going to be followed. So you need to know legally what are all the aspects that are involved before you sign a contract. This 80 marks is definitely a scorable one unless and until you are going to put in the effort. Good morning and welcome to the introductory class of commercial law in the 4th semester B.B.A. So we are going to have a deep look into the subject, trying to understand what has commercial law got for us in this particular semester. So moving further, this is going to be the syllabus of the commercial law. So we are having 5 units starting from the contract law, starting from contractual capacity, special contract which will include indemnity and the various other aspects, intellectual property rights, Competition Protection Act 2002. Now, if you look into the syllabus, it has been carefully designed by the University of Mysore, taking into consideration all the modern activities that are governing the commercial law. Because once we are talking about business, and especially when we talk about the course B.B.A, Bachelors in Business Administration, you will be coming across different types of negotiation, contract acts and laws and factor, which is definitely going to be a crucial part, not only from a theoretical perspective, but also from the practical aspect. So all this subject related syllabus is very, very important. Why? Because once you learn it, you will be able to see the practical implication in the long run. So this is very, very important for all of us. This is going to be a very interesting subject where we are going to look into the different aspects that is governing the business from the legal standpoint. So let's just go further and try to understand the syllabus in depth. Starting with the Contract Act, everybody knows that this is the fundamental aspect of the commercial law of any business altogether. So what is a contract? How a contract is formed? What are the essentials of a contract? Do we really need to follow all the rules and regulations of contract? All these factors have been discussed here. So definitely this is going to be a very, very important class for all of us. Why? Because we are going to understand how the Contract Act is coming into picture and what do we need to do in terms of building up this factor. So all these things are definitely going to be talked about tomorrow, and we are going to look in terms of the definition, essentials and the factors, especially when we talk about in terms of offer, acceptance, rules and consideration factors altogether. So definitely this is going to be a very, very important factor as we are looking in. So what is the definition of a contract? What are the essential factors? What are the types, the offer, acceptance, consideration, rules and exception factor? These are all very, very important when we are talking about the contract. Moving further, now the law, which is very, very important here, because being a law subject, we have to understand that at any given point, we cannot deviate from the normal circumstances. So law is a rule of conduct developed by the government or the society over a certain territory. So this is a rule factor. Law is a rule factor. You're not going to change it. And the contract law, which has been told very, very clearly, the Indian Contract Act of 1872, which talks clearly about what are the rules and regulations that are going to be followed, is going to be discussed in the syllabus. So this is definitely a very important chapter and carries a huge amount of weightage from the exam standpoint also. Moving further, we're going to go to the second unit of the syllabus, contractual capacity, in which we are going to talk about minors agreement, free consent, essentials, discharge of contract, the various modes of it, and the remedies. So now when you start talking about these things, you need to be highly careful about this factor that Under which are we talking about this contractual capacity? Who is a minor? What is a free consent? Why? Because these days when you are trading, when you are involving in business, there are different kinds of people whom you will come across, and not with everybody you will be able to form a business contract and proceed. So you need to know legally what are all the aspects that are involved before you sign a contract and take it forward. So that is why I would say that these factors are very, very important for all of us. So going forward, we need to understand all these things before we start taking it up. So let's understand here the minors agreement, the free consent, are you eligible to do these kind of acts? All these factors have been spoken up here. Followed by the special contract. Rather than I'm just going to use the word special contract, as per your syllabus, it will start with contract of indemnity, guarantee, bailment, and pledge. These are all new terms and terminologies which have been spoken, but yes, they are very useful and important from the exam standpoint as well as from the learning standpoint. So all these things are very, very important. Now, contract of agencies, the essentials, rights and liabilities, all these factors are very, very important. Why? Because whenever you are talking about these rights, these assessment factors, liabilities and rules, these are very, very important for all of us. These are very, very essential in terms of going in and understanding how these work in the regular walk of life on a practical manner. So these acts like the indemnity, the bailment and all those factors will be of a great use. Definitely this is also an important factor in terms of your examination. Moving further, intellectual property rights, a very important thing, especially when I'm going to lay emphasis on cyber law, the digital provisions and other factor. These days, India is in the mode of innovation. We are all becoming more and more innovative, more and more tech savvy altogether. Each and every content that is being developed across the internet is subjected to some kind of cyber attack. It is subjected to some kind of data theft altogether. So these days, the country India is being trying to come up with stringent laws which is trying to govern in terms of your cyber security, in terms of your data privacy. Recently, most of you would also be knowing what is happening with Twitter, with WhatsApp, and especially what has been happening even in HDFC Bank. There have been a lot of data outages, data leak altogether. So all these kind of things have been discussed over here in intellectual property law. Why? Because every single person has got his rights over protecting his data. Now that has to be understood very clearly and has to be taken in the right sense, in the right manner. So I would say that this IPR, intellectual property rights, is going to be more of a live session, more of a very interesting session, which is going to tell about you and how your data needs to be protected, your business data, your organization, your personal data. So we are going to talk about it in depth. So the IPR is definitely a very, very interesting chapter. Also, we are going to govern with the crimes, the offense and the punishment that is involved in terms of this particular factor or aspect. So definitely this is going to be an interesting chapter, interesting module altogether. Followed by the Competition Protection Act, a very interesting one. Why I would say is that the Competition Protection Act of 2002, the objectives, the anti-competition agreement, all these factors are going to be discussed here. What is this all about? Why is it so important? Why are we talking about competition? If you've been reading through the newspaper, you will try to understand the challenges that are being faced by companies like Flipkart and Amazon on the e-commerce space. There is a whole lot of issue challenging about how these people are trying to monopolize the entire digital space place, not allowing other companies or other products to be sold. So there is everywhere a kind of monopoly, a kind of cartels that are being existing in our society, which goes ahead and completely diminishes the entire competition altogether. So this is where you need to understand, we need to have rules and regulation so that a healthy competition prevails among the service providers and everybody gets an equal chance to be a part of this society. So when you are talking about your business, about your organization, competition becomes an inherent factor. You cannot avoid it. It is inbuilt with it. But then you need to have laws, rules, and regulations that can protect your competition, that can protect your business altogether and lead you to a successful growth. So we are going to see about what are the different rules, the different laws that is going to help you in terms of prevention, abusement of dominant position. How does this Competition Act actually help business to have an open and healthy surrounding altogether? With that, we come to the end of the syllabus and the books for reference for this particular subject. We have the Mercantile Law by N.D. Kapoor, the Business Law by P.C. Tulsian, and the Mercantile Law by P.P.S. Gonga. But I would suggest you N.D. Kapoor as the most suggested textbook, the most important textbook that is very, very relevant to your subject, and it's one of the most standardized books that's available for the mercantile law. Then the class planner, how are we going to proceed in the class for this particular subject? We are going to have live sessions, which is going to be more interesting in terms of Q&A, in terms of answering the different types of doubts and other classification. We are also going to have things like the Viva, where we are going to give you certain topics and you are going to present. And at the same time, we are also going to have the theoretical classes where we are going to have the regular online sessions, the lectures that are going to happen there. Plus, we will also have different types of assessments so that you will be able to understand the syllabus better. So these are all the class planner that we have decided, where the involvement of faculty and student will be more, so that we both can learn the subject and we both can understand the practicality of this subject. Overall, the entire exercise is going to be very, very innovative and interesting, where we are going to involve each and every one of you so that you can learn the subject in an easier manner and also score very well in the exam. Now, moving further, the most important topic of the day is the internal portions. All of you know that internals is of a very, very great importance, and you know that the internal marks is going to be definitely governed here. It carries a 20 marks for you. So the first internals, you are going to have the unit 1 and unit 2, contract and contractual capacity. For the internals 2, you're going to have the special contract, that is the Indemnity and the Intellectual Property Act. And for the third one, the Competition Act is going to be divided in two factors. It is the same thing, but you'll have two modulation parts of it. So we are going to have it in two ways. But then, nevertheless, you are going to have 3 internals. Each internal is worth 20 marks. It is mandatory for everyone to attend the internals, and then only you will be getting your 20 marks altogether. Now, what is important here is that final marks will be awarded on the average of 3 internals. So let's say this is internal A, B, and C. That means the final marks is A plus B plus C. So all the 3 divided by 3. So this is how you are going to get your final marks. So please don't take a chance of saying that, sir, I will attend only 1 internals or 2 or either of the 3. We are not going to get the marks. It is going to be an average of all the 3 internals put together, and that will help you to score the marks. Moving further, the question paper pattern that we are going to talk about here is part A is going to have 15 into 2, 30 marks. Part B is going to have 10 into 3, that's 30 marks, and Part C is going to have 5 into 4 questions, 20 marks, and the total is definitely for 80 marks put together. So no need to worry about it. 80 marks is there, 20 marks on the internal, 80 marks from the university side, the question paper, and the 20 marks on the internal. So 80 plus 20 is going to be 100 marks coming in total for you. And will I be able to score this 80 marks? Definitely yes. Why? Because what we have made it very, very clear is that this 80 marks is definitely a scorable one, unless and until you are going to put in the effort, you're going to understand the concepts and take it forward. So definitely you can make it. It's very easy. The questions are much predictable and you just have to put in your effort. You will be able to score full marks in this paper. Followed by the important questions, the marks allotments. So if you look here for the first one, that is the contract, that is where the massive marks are located. So you have about 30 marks which is going to come out from this chapter. Similarly, you have another 30 marks that is going to come in terms of, let's say, the second unit also. Again, you have about, I would like to say that here, you will have 35 marks. This is a higher weightage here. From the next chapter, another 30 marks. And the intellectual property rights and competition, you have the last one. I would like to give only 15 marks because not much of there. And here another 30 marks. This is uniformly distributed in the first 4. And the last one, we have not given much of weightage. Why? Because the Competition Act is pretty much new to you. So what is very important is that according to me, the first 3 units are definitely going to be the massive marks gainer for you. So you need to give a lot of importance there where you can score your maximum marks altogether. And definitely you have the unit 4 and unit 5, which is going to be an extra additional scope of gaining marks for you. So this is the general allotment. I'm not going to say this is going to be the definitive pattern. This is what we have expected, we have seen and experienced over the past papers altogether. So all I would request you is that please do spend some time, give some special importance and attention to the first 3 units, which will definitely help you to score better in the coming days. Followed by the learning outcome, which is very, very important. What are we expecting out of this particular subject? Why so much of importance is being thrusted upon commercial law? Because to enable students to gain an understanding of legal and regulatory framework, which is very, very important for all of you as you are studying this subject. You are a part of the business administration group, which is very, very important because you will try to understand how these laws are regulating the business, how the functionality aspect of business is gaining importance, both in terms of legal as well as in terms of the operational standpoint. With this, I come to the end of this particular session. I hope and believe that all the information shared here would be of a great resource and help to you. In the upcoming sessions, we will be seeing in detail about the different aspects of commercial law. Until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened forever. All the best, students, for the upcoming sessions.